Ever wanted to play D&D but don't really know where to begin? Or are you just a DM who's looking at refreshing your skills and remembering what it's like to be player once again? Well, stick around, because that's exactly what this episode's going to be about. Welcome, I'm Jordan, I'm your DM, and welcome back to Chaotic Good Advice. Today's episode is going to be the first of the series in a new series. We are going to talk about what is D&D, the things that you need to know to play. Let's jump straight into it, shall we? So what is D&D? So D&D was actually created in 1974 by Gary Gygax and David Arneson. And I apologize, I probably butchered those names, so sorry. But it was created in the basement of all things for Gary's kids. It was designed as a little bit of a fun game to get them doing something as a group, and it blew up into what we now know is D&D. So D&D, or Dungeons and Dragons, as it's also known as, is a TTRPG, which is just a fancy thing of saying tabletop role-playing game. Now, the game itself is played on a tabletop, and it is a role-playing game. It is a collaborative storytelling experience, and that is essentially what it is at its core. The main point of the entire game is to collaborate with the fellow people you've got in your group and your party. So you can play someone who's not you, fantasize and play that ultimate game of pretend as an adult, like you've been chasing. So think of when you were a kid and you were playing out in the gardens and you were playing pretend. This is essentially pretend for adults, 30, 40-year-olds. I often get the question of, well, how do I play? Well, that's very simple and that's very easy. You need three things to play. You need a DM, you need some dice, and you need a character. That's it. All the other stuff that people will tell you you will need, all the stuff that you can get, nah, you don't need that to start a game. To start your very first game of D&D, those are the only three things that you need. So the game itself, like I said, it is a story. And if things need to be changed and adapted to fit that story, then absolutely go for it. The entire player's handbook that you can get, which is essentially a rule book for D&D, one of the biggest things that people forget about it is that it is a guide and a guide only. So don't think that if you're reading your character sheet and you go, oh, I can't do that, speak to your DM. It's one of the biggest things that you can do. If there's something that you want to do to make your character a little bit interesting, or you want to roleplay, speak to your DM about it. See if they can incorporate it somehow. So if you want to do that, think of the type of character that you want to build, and then create your statistics off that. Create your features. If you are wanting to play a character that's shy, just say, I want to play a character that's shy. Talk to your DM and just go, well, what would I need to do after that? Maybe make your statistics where your charisma score is really low, so that way you don't really like talking to people. Those are the types of things that can help guide your character. Put a little bit of yourself in your character. It helps you, especially if you're new to role-playing, just see what it's like. Play around with it. Play with a more eccentric version of yourself. And then you can slowly adapt and change it to someone who's completely not you. So, yes, you can use the player's handbook, or if you find a good enough DM, you can just sit down with them and talk about what they want in their characters and what they want in their story. So, the biggest thing, make sure that you are collaborating with your DM at all points in the trip, because the DM itself is someone who you need to play. And you need them to be able to incorporate your stuff into the story. So don't just make a character and then show up on the day and go, this is who I'm going to play. Make sure that you have a chat along the way about what they want, what they don't want, what they can have, and what you can have. A good DM will just let you run with whatever ideas you've got. How do I win? Or when does it end? Well, simple answer. You don't, and it doesn't. So Dungeons and Dragons is not a game that you can win. Yes, there are battles, and yes, there are things that you can win or you can achieve throughout the game. But it's not a game that actually has a definitive, this is how I've won the game, it's over now. So it doesn't actually end. So you could keep playing the same character for 5, 6, 7 years. However, most of the time there's scheduling issues that cause the campaign or the group or the party to end, or usually it gets to a point where the party's like, okay, we're kind of done with this now, so this has been fun, but that's it. And that's okay. That is completely fine. That's quite normal and quite natural in the progression of D&D. You will find the very, very rare groups that stick it out right to the very end because they're just so invested, and they are some of the funnest groups that you can ever play with because they are all so collaborative and so engaged, which is so much fun. But that's essentially how to end the game. There is really no end. You could keep playing. There is a definitive stop with your characters. You'll get to a level 20 and then that's it. You can't really level up any more than that unless you have a DM that kind of starts homebrewing some stuff, which is a fancy little term of just DM's creations of their own kind of making. So they could create more levels after that if you guys are still so invested, but that is up to the DM's discretion. If you've been watching this video and you've been looking at these tips and tricks and you've gone, okay, well, where do I start? Start with a character. You can find character sheets in players' handbooks. You can ask your DM for character sheets, or you can find a free PDF and just download that and start filling that in. Link will be in the description below for you if you're interested in looking at a character sheet. It will be the 5th edition, it won't be the new editions because the new editions I haven't been able to find yet, but at least you've got something that you can start with. So when you're starting your character build, don't look at everything and go, oh, there's so much on this piece of paper. Start with one thing, like I said before. Do you want a shy character? Do you want a slightly evil character? Or is your character seeking revenge? Start with that. Then build your character out. You could come to your first D&D session with as simple as, my character is a very angry person and gets hot-headed very easily. And then you can slowly adapt and build your character out from there. Maybe someone does something where your character realizes, oh, hang on a minute, that I would usually get angry at this, but I don't feel angry. I feel like I don't want to do that. It creates and makes for some amazing storytelling elements. So don't shy away from some of this stuff. Really embrace it. And at the end of the day, the other thing that you will need is find a DM and make sure your character works with their story. The DM has the final say. As much as it's fun and as much as Dungeons & Dragons is a game where you're all collaborating, at the end of the day, the DM is the one who's created the entire story. They've got the plan, they've got the knowledge. You come with your character and you can control what your character does, but it's very polite to talk to the DM prior and just ask them if your character does work with what their story is telling and what they want for their story, because they may actually give you some ideas or some helpful points to make your character a little bit more interesting and help adapt your character for the story itself. So the DM itself, you'll need to find a good DM. So a good DM will actually let you play with any ideas you come up with and will not shut them down completely. They may adapt your ideas or they may slightly push your ideas in one direction, but they're not going to shut you down and go, no, you can't do that. Nope, not doing that. A good DM will actually allow you to explore those ideas and run with them, because at the end of the day, like I said, Dungeons & Dragons is a collaborative storytelling experience. Not just for the DM, but it's for you guys as well, the players. It's for someone to sit down and play a game with the group. You may have 4, 5, 6, 7 people in your group, including the DM, and you're all collaborating. Be respectful of your other players. So that's the other thing. Don't make a character that's going to clash with your other fellow players. So it's fun to make a character that's hot-headed. But if you're the type of person who gets hot-headed at every single person and every single thing that characters in your group do, then it's going to start becoming not fun for those people playing. And that's when the game will eventually end, because people will just start feeling like they're not being included. So it's a great idea to try and find ways of including your group. Last but not least, you'll need some dice. You can get some really, really cheap dice from things like, if you're in Australia, you can get them from Zing, I believe you can probably even get some really cheap dice online, but you can get a very easy, good, cool starter pack, and they're usually about between $5 and $10. And this is something that you can use to just start your D&D journey. Sometimes people go a bit crazy and you'll see someone who will come up with an entire suitcase full of dice. And they are usually someone who's been playing D&D for quite a while. They will have multiple sets of dice. So even if you don't have one, if you've got someone in your group who you know for a fact has been playing D&D for a while, maybe they've got quite a few sets of dice and you can just ask to borrow a set. But you will need to make sure that you write down what your character's motives are. Think about how they're going to act. Yes, it's fun to have an idea of, yes, they're hot-headed, but then think about, okay, well, if they're hot-headed, how would they interact with people? But play with it, figure it out. Sometimes it takes multiple sessions to actually find the groove for your character, and that's okay. It is a fun experience, and it's something that should be embraced, not shied away from, because the character building and the character development experience is some of the most valuable time you will ever experience as a Dungeons & Dragons player, because it's sometimes some of the most fun. But if you're interested in a little bit more of character building, stay tuned, because I've got a character building series coming out very, very soon. That is my tips and tricks for what is D&D, or my chaotic good advice. So that's basically the basics. I really hope that you know a little bit more about Dungeons & Dragons, or maybe are a little bit excited or actually willing to give it a go than you were 20 minutes ago. But I encourage you to give it a go. I encourage you to experience what the game is at its core, because even if you feel like you're someone who can't roleplay, or someone who's not very good at pretend or acting, give it a go. I know so many people who were saying Dungeons & Dragons is not my thing because I'm not very good at role-playing, and that they've enjoyed the game more than people who have been playing for ages. So don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more of these videos, but comment below, because we actually have a bit of a giveaway going on. So once we hit 100 subscribers, we're going to do a bit of a giveaway. You might actually be in a chance to win your own dice sets. So don't forget, these episodes will come out every fortnight. So the way you enter the giveaway is you comment below on one of our videos on our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and like one of our social medias, because that's where our winner will be drawn. So if you're interested, jump on and do that. But thank you very much, and we hope to see you again soon. That's where we're going to leave it.